Alright, welcome to the weekly gaming quick save show recorded live at 3 p.m. Pacific time every Friday right here on twitch.tv/benreacts. On this week's show, I'm going to review Doom and also talk about what it's like to play on The Last of Us after Uncharted 4. It's kind of a revisit to the classic game. But first, we're going to take a look at some of the top stories of the week. Now this week, there wasn't a lot of news. I think everyone's kind of just sleeping/recovering from E3, but there are two big things, these are two, that I think happened. Firstly being Mighty Number 9, the Kickstarter darling finally happened. Finally came out. Everyone's super jazzed and excited about it. Or not. And, you know, I think this was kind of writing on the wall, really, when you look at it, based on how many times it was delayed, all these things that happened, the concept, original footage that they pitched with isn't exactly what you get, the reasons why it was delayed. Did I say that already? And Keiji Inafune has come out and been like, okay, I own up to all of this, and that's great, and that's good, but this is really just the problem with Kickstarter, and might be the final nail in the coffin for a lot of people of, okay, even if you have a big name with it, doesn't necessarily mean shit. You're still gonna get whatever you get, and that's not what a lot of people want, especially when you buy something potentially a year, 2 years in advance. I know I've kickstarted some games that now it's going on 3.5 years since I kickstarted them, and I still don't have a game, and like I'm fine with that, but at this point I'd rather just not have given you any money, and I'll just buy it when it comes out, because it's getting a little ridiculous, and even big names like this having trouble, it's worrying for a lot of people. But the game came out, and it's better than nothing, right? Guess that's what we can all agree with. Now the other big piece of news is maybe a little bit of a bee's nest to stick my hand into, but we're going to anyway. So Zoe Quinn is basically the catalyst of Gamergate that started off this whole thing. She tweeted out something this week that I thought was interesting and pertinent to what's going on in society. So let's take a look at this. Okay. So this is her tweet. The fuck did I ever do to you, Nintendo, that you all had to make my suffering into a fucking joke? This is in reference to 2 screenshots of the new Paper Mario Color Splash, I think it is. Doesn't really matter. So, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at the screenshots. Okay, so let's watch the 5 fun guys dance and shuffle. Okay. Next one. Man, is this going to ruin my career? I can see the headline now. Shufflegate exposed. So what we essentially have is Shufflegate, Gamergate, and 5 fun guys being a reference to 5 guys, the meme that happened with her when this whole Gamergate thing happened. Now, I was following that at the time, and it's still ongoing. And I completely forgotten about this 5 guy shit. I had to look it up, like, oh, that was a thing that happened? Now, obviously, when it happens to you, you remember. So she remembers. Just like the North. I need to move over a little bit. And that's fine. She can be upset by this and riled up and whatever, because this entire hate storm still haunts her to this day. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But this is very clearly about Watergate, and there's a lot of issues with this. There's a lot of things going on in this story that I feel like I'm gonna forget several of them. That's part of the problem. So one of them being, we get rid of all this, the Reddit, the tiniest picture. Now she tweeted this out too. So this is a picture of the Kotaku in Action subreddit that I made very small. The first one being 5 or 6 days before the other 2. And the first one saying, hey, look, there's this Gamergate reference in the new Paper Mario game. And then the ones 5 days later are, look at her being a stupid attention whore for this thing that isn't about her. Ha ha hee hee. And herein lies kind of that whole problem. She has every right to be upset about this because people are constantly bothering her about it. But at the same time, this is clearly not about her. So then we move on to this. Someone tweeting at her, I realize you've been through a lot. This is about the Watergate scandal, and tweeting these 2 pictures. Okay, this can't get out. I'll give you the key to Blissful Beach in exchange for your silence. Shady shit. Very much Watergatey. Remember, you saw nothing. Not to mention, we'll just leave this up here. Not to mention that the original 2 screenshots aren't displayed in order, or that the 5 fun guys is like fun guy, like a mushroom, fun guy, fun guys. Not to mention that, or that Nintendo has come out and said, hey, that's from Mario Party 8, everyone's favorite Mario Party. There's so many problems with this, and it comes down to both sides. I try to remain neutral on Gamergate and all these issues because, quite frankly, pro Gamergate, anti Gamergate is being ridiculous. Both of them are constantly ridiculous about dumb shit, and I don't understand why, or I don't get it. So what we have here is essentially someone part of Gamergate baited her allegedly into freaking out about this, so that they can then in turn be like, look at this stupid attention whore freaking out about this. Well, maybe if you hadn't freaked out at her for years at this time, she wouldn't be so on edge about any of this. The least at fault person here is Zoe Quinn. Least at fault. Because, of course, she'd be upset by anything even remotely close to this, because it fucked up her whole life. So of course she's going to react like that. But then we also have, why Gamergate? Okay, you're about ethics, and you actually have caused some ethical things to happen in terms of little footnotes in the end of articles of like, hey, this person knows this person, we just gotta disclose that, and that's great, and that's good. But if you want to be about ethics, you gotta stop doing shit like this. I know it's not everyone, but still, you can't be trapping people or then writing these pieces, look at her being stupid, ha 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 ha. That it plays into the other side's hand. It makes you look stupid. That's the problem. Be an actual movement that can do some good instead of being what the enemy thinks you are. That's how I'll phrase that. Now, this isn't to say that the anti-Gamergate people aren't also being ridiculous, because Zoe Quinn gets a bunch of replies on her Twitter of, well, boycott Nintendo now, I can't believe they did this, da 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 da. Ignoring the fact, two things. Ignoring one, that Nintendo didn't fucking do this. This would be people working at Nintendo. This is like if you went to Chase Bank and someone just tore up your credit card who worked there and you blamed Chase. No, you blame the person responsible and then Chase has to clean it up. So Nintendo would have to clean this up if they had done something wrong, but they're not the ones at fault. And those people, boycott Nintendo, I'll never buy another Nintendo game. Bullshit. You are lying. You are so lying. Breath of the Wild is going to come out, and you're going to jizz all over its cover. So shut the fuck up, you liar. Also, how come no one wants to take the time and look at this objectively and just stand back from it and go, is this about that? Let's see the evidence. This is from a live stream. We can look it up. We can look it up. You don't have to take things at face value. You can actually find your own information and find it from both sides and decide for yourself too. That's the problem with this. There's no critical thought at all here. So, I follow on Twitter pro-Gamergate people, anti-Gamergate people, pro-Trump people, anti-Trump people, obviously probably a lot more anti-Trump people, people on both sides of a lot of issues, because I want to pick their brains. I want to see what they're doing and what they're thinking about these different issues and decide for myself. It's an important thing not to shut out the entire other side. This is why it bothers me when I see people, and it's usually there's like a lot of feminists that do this. There's a lot of anti-Gamergate people that do this. If anyone disagrees with me on this issue, you'll be blocked. That's a great way to have a conversation, isn't it? With everyone that agrees with you. Great way to have a conversation just by blocking a bunch of people. Now, I'm sure you get a lot of hateful, dumb shit. And that I understand that. But blocking an entire side of the conversation isn't an answer to the problem and doesn't help discourse. Both of these sides can really learn a lot from each other, and they're acting like children, which is why I distance myself from both of them. pro and anti Gamergate. You're gonna agree. Both the groups here would agree on a lot. A little Venn diagram. This is a Venn diagram. You'd agree on a lot, but you don't. You just yell at each other about dumb shit, instead of getting your act together and actually talking and thinking and having that discourse that I mentioned of, is this about Watergate? I don't know. Let's look into it. Oh, it was from Mario Party 8. Okay. What's this about? Well, I don't know. Let's actually think about it critically and have a discussion instead of just yelling at each other and saying dumb things that don't mean anything. Saying you're going to boycott Nintendo now, that doesn't help her. That doesn't help anyone. It's ridiculous. Also, this is clearly about Watergate. What the fuck's going on? Just, everyone chill out, relax. Don't take the 2 screenshots as a act of war. And that's it. Now, at least I will say again and stress this. It's not, I don't blame her at all. I think she was totally right in tweeting this out. I didn't at first. I disagreed with her at first. And then all these other things came out. I was like, oh, she has every right to be upset about this. Every right. Everyone else, these little armchair upset people, no. And then Gamergate, don't fire back at her for this. You're acting like the dumb idiots the other side thinks you are. But maybe I'm giving you too much credit, and I hope I'm not. I really do think there's some change we can do in the industry by both groups coming together and actually talking like adults. Can we do that? Can we? No? I guess not. I guess we can't. Fucking babies over here. That's it. Going on to the topics of the week. Enough of this. Enough of these fun guys. Go right into it. As long as everything didn't break. We're gonna talk about Doom. Now, we're gonna start with Doom. I'm a huge fan of Doom. Let me test the chat. There it works. Okay. I'm a big fan of Doom from back in the day. This is a card. Get out of my hand. I loved it. It's one of my first memories is playing Doom. And the thing about this game is I went through waves of like really enjoying it and then being like, really? My first off the top advice for Doom is to play it over several days. I ended up playing a lot of this in like 3 sessions, more or less. And I found huge chat delay. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of delay. Well, the chat, you have a chat right there. So I recommend playing a level or 2 and then taking a break, because it does start to become not monotonous, but it's just constantly fighting and constantly zombies and monsters and shit flying around. And that's fine, and that's really good. And there's a lot of really good shit here. So we'll start with the good stuff. All of the weapons. There are very few games where I can say every weapon here is good and fun and interesting and useful, and they have all these alternate abilities too, to where, oh, hold down L and it does this charge shot, or does fires a grenade type of thing. That's awesome. I also love the grenades are on a cooldown timer, which is very handy. I want more games to do that. I don't know why they don't. I don't want to find grenades. I'm fine with finding ammo. It's a weird thing. But all the weapons are great. From the mini, they're all classic Doom weapons. The minigun, rocket launcher, all the fucking pulse beam thing that I forget the name of constantly. It doesn't make the cool sound that it used to in the Doom. Like, but yeah, it's been there, done that. That's very true, and that's why I'd say you take your time with it, because you play a couple levels, you're like, this is really cool, I'm fighting demons, and then you stop, kind of like a cleanse your palate, and then come back the next day. Because I'll be honest with you, I played the last 5 or so levels yesterday, and it's awesome, and there's great moments, and alright, I'm fighting another guy. It's very predictable. It's very old school in the sense of, okay, here's a room, and you're gonna go into it, and you're gonna fight things. And it's great, and it's an awesome arena. Things are, like, you're constantly moving. It's so good at that. There's fireballs coming at you, giant flying things, you're jumping over shit, kill this guy, okay, chainsaw that guy, shoot this guy with the BFG, then jump around here, I got a jump pad, okay, there's a quad damage thing over here, if I get that, then all this stuff going on, and that's amazing, but there's so much of it. And it never really, actually the beginning of the game I think does a better job of pacing. It's kind of a slower paced thing, because you don't have as many weapons and all this shit. It ends up having not necessarily a survival horror vibe, but just a slower, more methodical vibe that the chaos at the end of the game doesn't really get you. And it's not that the end of the game's bad, it's just there's so much of it. There's so much of it. It begins to become like, okay, I like this, but okay, now we're in hell again. And now we're not in hell, and it's beautiful. And then we're over here, okay, and then now we're over there, alright. Like, and it does this fucking cool thing where you're in a cold environment, but then doesn't do anything with it. Like, oh, we're finally in a new place. It's not hell, it's not Mars, it's not indoor industrial factory facility thing. It's snowy place, and then you don't fight anyone there. Like, I thought it was gonna pull some rug out from under me and be some interesting snowy thing. Nah. But at the same time, enough can't be said about how good the combat is and how good it feels, and how punching things in the face like that never gets old. There is no regenerating health, so you have to do that to regain health. That's great. Finding secrets is awesome, but a little bit too much. You end up spending a lot of the time in the map. Maybe a mini-map on the side would have been a nice addition, because constantly I'm like, okay, I need to go over here. What's over there? There were some times towards the end of the game where I didn't know where to go, and the answer to where to go was like in this room that was lit up, but I happened to miss, and then the checkpoint little guide arrow didn't tell me to go over there. It told me to go over here, which is where that would teleport me to, which I guess is my own fault for not being able to see things, but it just, in certain ways like that, it just feels very old. You'll be going, if you beat a bunch of guys, right, they're not going to respawn. And you can basically retread the entire map for the most part for all these levels. So you're going to be going back and, oh, well, there's a secret over here. Let me look around. Let me poke around. And there's nothing over there now. So you're just jumping and running around, and it does some old shit too, where if you fall off a ledge and you die, you have to reload the entire thing, which is inconvenient. And it doesn't take very long. I'm playing on PC. It doesn't take that long, but it's still, in a world where I can die in Uncharted 4, for instance, and I'm back in it, right? This is very much not like that, and the checkpoint system saves your progress in terms of, a checkpoint is after you beat the area, not necessarily where you found an item. So if you find a collectible and then die, you're going to start at the checkpoint after the last battle, but you already collected that collectible. It's a very weird and kind of old school ideal with that. But finding all the secrets is great. I only found 2 of the classic, I don't know why this air quotes, they are classic Doom levels. And those are, I couldn't help but play those and feel like I'd rather just play the original Doom with these controls. That was like kind of my takeaway from it, was the aesthetic there is a lot more interesting. And seeing the enemies in their modern 3D impressiveness in the old setting was awesome. I think they look better. So much of this game is in a dark or weird color palette to where you can't appreciate what these enemies look like. Like the pinky, weird little pink monster guy, doesn't really look that pink and isn't that exciting. And then they turn invisible towards the end of the game, and they're not really that invisible. And I could have used the enemies looking more like their old school selves, if that makes any sense, or if anyone even cares about that besides me. Like the Cyber Demon and stuff like that. Why doesn't he look more like he did? And it comes down to the lighting. It's so dark that you can't really see some of these things, and it's so fast that you can't focus on it. Even the giant things that I forget the name of, the giant red skull thing that just shoot balls at you, demon balls at you. I don't know if that's really that. It's that monster. You get that initial thing of, oh shit, it's that thing. But it doesn't really look like it. It doesn't make the same noises, and maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it shouldn't. But I couldn't help but feel kind of like, cool. This is cool, and it's really good, and it is really good. But it's like right there. I just wanted it to go a little further, a little more modern with the level design or how some things. Like this is an example of, oh, there's a collectible over there. Now how the fuck do I go over there and get it? And the collectibles, I mean, maybe I went too overboard with it, and it would have been more fun to not find the collectibles, but then the collectibles will give you rewards, so you get these points to spend on upgrading your weapons or your suit. So you want to find all the collectibles. There's a big incentive on it, and there's a lot going on with that, but so many times it's like, okay, that's way the hell over there. I have to walk back through this entire environment. I'm jumping all around. The game does a really good job, for the most part, of showing you where you can go. So it'll have this kind of green glow around things you can jump on, or green lights. So it guides you, and it does a very good job at that. See, you can see the green lights right there. At the same time, though, sometimes it doesn't, and more particularly for the secrets, some of these levers you need to pull for secrets to open up are so dark that it's unbelievable to me just how dark it is. Like there's certain levers to open up. The two old Doom levels I found were these levers that were hidden out of sight in dark alcoves that I missed, even though I walked by several times. And I guess that's the point of a secret, but at the same time, you're revisiting Doom, you're bringing it back to where it was. I want to see those old things. I want to see the old levels. That's why I'm playing this, is to get all that nostalgia, but it's hidden away. And I don't know, I just didn't feel right with the secrets. It didn't feel right to me. There's too many of them, maybe. They're all over the place. There's challenges. There's those rune challenges, which are cool, but I don't know why the game needs to load and then has to reload every time you fail the challenge, which is likely, especially the later ones. And the challenges are fine, but they're very basic. And they unlock, see, that's tons of shit I'll forget. They unlock runes that change what you're doing. So like, oh, you'll collect more health, or the little vacuum of the pickups is a larger vacuum. That's like the first one. And so those are hidden too. All those rune challenges, trials I think they're called, are hidden around the world. But because they offer you these little runes, you want to find them. So you spend half your time looking at the mini-map and figuring like, okay, I missed one over here. I gotta go back and jump over. And the map is kind of all over the place. Like this is a simple map. This is the first level, so it's not as crazy. But they get kind of like multiple levels and then card keys, and you're trying to remember where you were on the map. But the map is constantly spinning. Like it doesn't orient to north and just stay there every time you pop it up. It orients to some other, maybe it's where you're facing. So the map is rotated differently each time you open it, and you're all over the place. And these are dumb shit problems in a game that really nails the combat and the feel and the weapon alternate abilities, and you're upgrading things, and the ambiance of a lot of these levels is great. It really is great. Stuff that happens with it very, very cool and interesting. But it's very much how I loved The Witness, but it just had enough like pulling back at me of like, why are some of these puzzles so stupid? Why is the game's too obtuse for its own good? It could have been better if it actually just explained the rules and expanded upon them and spoke to you and treated you like a person and not like an outsider that wanted to leave the game. That's my complaints against The Witness. So I have a similar nagging things against Doom, even though I really enjoyed my time with it, and I wish I could have done it played it over a longer period and kind of slowed it down and enjoyed it a bit more, but it just does feel old. And not always in a bad way, a lot of times in a good way. But it very much just is. It is unabashedly what it is. And it is very confident in that fact. And that's fine, but I do think a little more creativity or a little more bringing it to today besides the visuals and the upgrade trees and stuff could have been beneficial. This would have been very interesting in terms of it reminds me of BioShock in a way, or BioShock Infinite, where they're levels, right? But they're large levels and you're kind of going through them. It feels, actually, now that I think about it, it really does feel like BioShock. In terms of like the little upgrade things you find and all that, it really is. Huh. I never thought about it. It actually borrows a lot from BioShock. That's interesting. But BioShock had this whole cool story and these interesting powers and stuff going on too. It added more to it. And this just feels like, all right, you got all your classic weapons. Now you can do crazy gore kills. The story is completely forgettable, but in like it knows it's forgettable, and it's just doing like you're in Mars and you're doing crazy shit. Okay, good. There's an AI man. All right, it has fun with it, and it doesn't get bogged down with trying to be cool or impressive or hoity-toity, I guess, with its story. That's not a good way to describe it, but whatever. It's good. It's really good, but there's a lot of potential here, I feel, for growth. And for, god damn it, don't put all that shit on the map. Give me some kind of maybe a compass on the bottom that just tells me, oh, there's a collectible this direction. And then I can search for it myself. I know it's in that direction. And if I need the map, I'll pop up the map, or put the map on the screen, or make that be a button. There's also, I completely forgot, there's other grenades you get throughout the game, but I completely forgot they existed. I don't even remember what they do. Just stick with the frag grenade. I will give a lot of credit, too, for you have to use all the weapons. You really do. You're going to run out of ammo. You're going to get overwhelmed. You need to use the BFG. You need to use the chainsaw. You need to use all these things. And that's awesome. That's something a lot of games don't do. Actually, specifically going back to BioShock, you can't in a game like BioShock. Oh, I'll just stick with this weapon, or oh, I ran out of ammo. I'll change to the one other weapon that I care about. But with this, you're gonna need to change, and they're all viable. Except for I didn't use some of them as often as others. But towards the end of the game, it was like I'm revisiting these weapons. Like, oh, let's play with this because they're all kind of worth it. And the game's more about, it's not about cover necessarily. It's about dodging and maneuvering in a way that we don't play games like that anymore. It does take a little bit getting used to. The controls are very fast and fluid into a point where it's like you're zipping and zooming all around, and it's very fast, in a great way. It's great. I don't know. I'm very torn. I love Doom, and it is great. I did really enjoy my time, and I'll probably go back and find more of the classic maps and stuff. But it's just like, I think we could have had more here. I think it kind of got in its own way a little bit, but maybe not. Maybe as I think about it more, I won't be so bad on it. But you know, there's upgrade. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I don't know how necessary it is. It is interesting. There are points to spend. Sometimes I had 30, 40 points to spend because by the end, there's just a lot of points. I don't know. It's good. It's Doom. If you like, you know if you want to play this or not. You don't need me. No one's watching this and being like, oh, I guess I'll play Doom now. You know if you want it or not. It's very Doom. You want Doom? Here you go. Here's Doom. If you didn't like Doom before, you're probably not super into it. Probably not going to be amazed by it. It really is like, oh shit, that's that enemy. Oh, I remember that. But there was something about the original and Doom 2 that had a better vibe. Maybe it was the noises or the sounds or just the time that I feel this game loses the benefit of being so modern. It kind of, those things don't fit anymore, so I can't have them. And maybe I just want Doom 2. Maybe that's the answer to this. I just want Doom 2. That's probably what it is. It is fun to punch people, and oh man, that is fun. That is very enjoyable. I recommend stomping people. Ah, I didn't change the text. You saw nothing. Good, that's what I wanted the text to look like. Okay, so I loved The Last of Us when it came out. Never played it, never even played the DLC until now. And I wasn't a big fan of the Uncharted games until 4. Boop. And 4 I think is the best Uncharted by far. By far. Not even close with the other 3. Extremely impressive. So I thought I'd go back and play The Last of Us Remastered since I bought it like over a year ago. Let's finally play it. And besides noticing some weird things they did when they brought it to PS4, there's some interesting, if you're super into the technical side of things, there's some funny kind of rendering techniques they used where if the flashlight is on stuff, it gets a bunch of extra detail and aliasing. But if the flashlight's off of it, it doesn't, and it looks kind of drab, and it's in the darkness, so you can't really see it. But that was a fun tech nerd thing for me to find. Besides that, The Last of Us, gorgeous, not as beautiful as Uncharted 4. How could it be? But there's some things. There's some things here because you might think of The Last of Us as like this amazing, grand adventure with impressive stealth sequences and all that, but playing it the second time and after Uncharted 4, there's really a lot they could kind of take from Uncharted 4, and there's a lot from Uncharted 4 taken from The Last of Us, but I think the stealth in Uncharted 4 is kind of better than The Last of Us. In The Last of Us, you can't mark enemies, so you have to keep popping into that noise view. And it really slows it down. It gets to the point where the guys are popping out of nowhere. It does the Uncharted 1 through 3 thing where animations don't quite line up, or there's inconsistencies where people gum through doors and you hit them, but sometimes they alert everyone and sometimes it doesn't. And it's an impressive system where you run away and hide and you kind of see what things are going on, but it suffers the same problems again as Uncharted 1, 2, 3, The Last of Us has too much combat. it doesn't have enough of lulls and stuff, especially when you're going through it the second time, and you can kind of just, oh, I remember this a little bit. Oh, okay, then we all did this. Okay, yeah, sure, whatever, sure. It just doesn't. Okay, so good stuff that The Last of Us has that I would like to see, particularly framing this from what to see in The Last of Us 2. Because take some things from Uncharted 4, besides the polish and all that. I think the whole idea of stealth in Uncharted 4 is better. And it's better for a couple reasons. Because you can mark people, but also because of the level design isn't so cramped. And it fits in a way. So a big key difference actually with Uncharted and The Last of Us is Uncharted you can snap to cover, right? In The Last of Us, you just kind of hide behind things. And that leads to problems where it feels like, am I hiding behind this? I think I am. I'm kind of sideways diagonal though, and this guy's going to come in front of me and I need to be able to stealth kill him. It doesn't quite work or feel good in the same way of being stealthy in Uncharted 4 felt amazing to me. I loved it. The Last of Us is a completely different stealth game, but it's the roughness around the edges. Now, there's also the crafting and the looting and all that. That's obviously not in Uncharted. And playing through it again, I really think they can hone that down. There's a lot of running around like an idiot after you kill a bunch of guys in the area, and then now I'm going to search all the drawers. And that's fine and all, but you really do end up, if you know what you're doing and you're trying to be stealthy, you end up with so much garbage. I would like to see them add a larger inventory, more things to craft, maybe, or strip it back. You can upgrade your weapon in that. And I never thought I'd say this after playing The Last of Us and before Uncharted 4. I never thought I'd say, I think Uncharted 4 is just better. It really respects itself. There's so many times in The Last of Us where, oh, I gotta push this pallet again, or oh, a clicker got me and I didn't see him. He came out of the corner and now I'm dead. And it's like, just fucking, who cares? Like, there's so many weird arbitrary rules with that. There's so much freedom and fun with Uncharted 4, but you can be stealthy, but you don't have to. The Last of Us, I would love to try and play The Last of Us again and play it not stealthy, because I imagine it's terrible. I imagine it's straight up a horrible game, because the shooting isn't that great. It's very weighted and it's realistic in a way that isn't fun. It's more fun to be stealthy, but you can't be stealthy because you got to take the guys down slow. And if you use the shiv, there's a lot of risk reward and managing what you have that deals with that. But if you're playing the game stealthily, you still only have a certain number of shivs. If you're playing the game unstealthily, you're not gonna have enough ammo. So it's kind of a weird mix that it wants you to play a certain way. And there are incredible moments there, but it really does come down to constantly. It's constantly the village in Resident Evil 4, where it's like, okay, this is a set piece moment. This is where you fight a bunch of guys in the neighborhood. This is where you go into the school. This is where you fight after the giraffe. So this is where you sneak around, do that, all that shit. Every moment is a set piece in there, and all the set pieces are set around combat in The Last of Us. Except for, I mean, obviously there's others that aren't, but the vast majority are set around combat. Like, hold this cabin with Ellie. Okay, this is a set piece moment that hinges on combat. None of them hinge on stealth or just on storytelling in a way that's memorable. And that's what Uncharted 4 did, was it really just didn't give a shit. It's like, alright, we're gonna just have cutscenes for an hour here. You're just gonna walk around. You're gonna sail on a boat with your brother for an hour. Have fun. And I did. Like, it really felt true to itself. And it could have these moments because there's platforming of, this is a set piece moment that has nothing to do with shooting. Here's some puzzles. I think The Last of Us 2 could use puzzles. Or some more than put a ladder here or put a ladder there. Maybe some like Batman style investigation where you're solving a thing. These larger worlds, I'm very excited to see what they can do with it, because after Uncharted 4, they can do so much. Very clearly. The Last of Us does feel dated. Its story, I think, is still really good and overall better told and stronger than Uncharted. Uncharted's this pulp Indiana Jones story. It's not trying to be Dune or something that's like complex, and it's like, no, it's just a guy, he's got treasure and he's got a brother and then some treasure. That's all it needs to be. And there's the fluidity, the fastness of how you do things in Uncharted. But the slow, very conflicted, because the slow nature of The Last of Us is what makes it The Last of Us. But I can't help but feel that maybe you don't need jumping. Maybe we don't need jumping around like a hooligan. But to feel a little more capable. I'll liken it to Metal Gear Solid 5, where you are being stealthy, but you can do all these different things. You can grab a person and choke them out, but you can also hold them for, and you can do that in The Last of Us, but it never behooves you to do that. Straight up never. Because if you're grabbing a guy, you're going in stealthily. You're not all of a sudden now, I'm taking a hostage. Doesn't make any sense. There's so many other things you can do in these stealth games that I think this needs. There's no option or way to hide in The Last of Us. Whereas, like, okay, there's a locker here. Let's hide in the locker. Or hide around this corner. And the guy, you're hiding just kind of just by being yourself in a different place. And it doesn't feel like you're hiding. There's no way to be like, okay, there's a bed here. I'm going to hide under the bed. There's no takedowns like there are in Uncharted, where, okay, this guy's near an edge of a cliff. I'll just push him off the edge of the cliff. Or he's near a wall. I'll grab him by the arm and spin him around into the wall to knock him out. There's none of that in The Last of Us. And that's what it needs. It needs that diversity of environmental takedowns in the stealth, because every single time it is straight up, I'm just gonna choke this guy. Guess I just choked this guy to death. Dude, Joel, like, stop. And it really hit home this second time playing. Like, Joel is not a good guy at all. He is the bad guy. He is a straight up homicidal maniac. Like, it was like, how did I not see this so clearly last time? I feel like I was more on his side, and now, I don't know. Oh, and the Left Behind was good. The Left Behind is more what I'm talking about. This kind of slower. It had a couple moments. Go back to that point I was making about the hello, Merry Christmas, Wolfman. The point I was making about Resident Evil 4, where there's set piece moments of Resident Evil 4 of this is the village, and now you're gonna have a combat thing. The Last of Us does that with every single combat encounter. But what the Resident Evil 4 did, and other games obviously have done, is have these moments where you go into an area and you can just, they're not really alerted, or they're not really caring about you, and you can do what you want, and maybe you fight them, maybe you don't. There's only a few of them. It doesn't become a big thing. That's the difference. Even if you can be stealthy through an area in The Last of Us, it'll become a big thing, or it's still so much stealth. There's not little moments of stealth or little moments of combat in The Last of Us that I felt like they're missing pacing-wise. Do you remember Wolfman? I remember a Wolfman, but I meet so many people online. I don't know if they're people. They could be robots. Could be robots. You'd have to give me more information of more specifics. Look at how terrible I am at this game. Not very good at it. Oh, paint yourself into a corner, Drake. Fall off a cliff. Poor Drake. Poor Drake. Falls and dies. He runs around. I don't know. There's a lot to improve on with The Last of Us. That's what I took away from it. Was, yes, it was amazing and great at the time, and it is still great and impressive. But after Uncharted 4, they kind of showed what other stuff they can do, and there's a lot of improvements that could be made to make The Last of Us 2 just, like, incredible. Basically what Uncharted 4 is to the rest of the series, Last of Us 2 could be to The Last of Us 1. Yeah, I'm talking about The Last of Us. I'm talking about The Last of Us and Uncharted, basically. Uncharted 4 specifically. I loved marking dudes. Oh, marking dudes is so awesome. I'm down with marking dudes in every game. But the shooting in Uncharted 4, it's kind of all over the place. Look how impressive it is. I really do think Uncharted 4 is so visually impressive in what they accomplished here. Now, my gameplay not very good, but take that as well. The Last of Us just has the better setting, and when I first played it, there were a lot of moments of, oh, this is a fantastic Resident Evil 4 style moment. But on the second playthrough, it really was, nah. It never has that slow down, explore this area. The lulls. It never has the lulls in the same way Uncharted 4 does, or even Resident Evil 4, or a lot of games. It just Bioshock. I keep mentioning Bioshock today. It's really coming around. It never has that. It always feels kind of like you're just under constant pressure. There's never a benefit to exploring just for exploring. It's always, I'll explore. Oh, there's an enemy, or I'm exploring because I have to find this ladder. There's always a thing you're doing. In a way that there's never just exploring for exploring's sake. That's what's missing. The Last of Us is great. When was the last time you played The Last of Us? That's an interesting thing, because I played it when it came out, and I just played it, I finished it like a week ago. The Last of Us Remastered. And it is an amazing game. It is great. But I do think it's rough around the edges. There are problems with it. There's things where, why can't, like if I'm hiding behind cover, like a window, and there's a guy on the other side of the window, I can't take him down through the window. I can't grab him through the window and like pull him onto the other side. There's no stealth takedown stuff like that. There's just a lot of weird things like that in the game that don't quite add up. And I do think the tall grass from Uncharted 4 was a great addition. I love the tall grass. Tall grass is awesome. And I think that we need tall grass is what we need in The Last of Us 2. A lot of tall grass. Yeah, it's great. No, it's a great game for sure. Played a year ago. But have you played Uncharted 4? That's the thing. And I'm not a big Uncharted guy. I think 1 through 3 are just good. Uncharted 4 was amazing. It's the one game I played this year that I keep thinking about. Like, I want to play that again. And I finished it. Yeah, no. Did you play Uncharted 4 though? That's the big question. Because I can't see, like, if you play The Last of Us, I can't see how you would play Uncharted 4. Oh, okay. I can't say how you'd play Uncharted 4 and not feel like, oh man, there's so much more here. That's why I played The Last of Us Remastered. Was like, they did this very impressive, from a technical level, from just how the game unfolds, from a feeling, how it feels to play the game. They brought so much to the table with Uncharted 4 that going back to The Last of Us was like, wow, they really could improve this. It's a great game, but they really could dial it to 11 and make something incredible out of The Last of Us 2 that we're not expecting at all. Just in terms of how it plays and mechanics and everything involved. That's what's exciting about it. Because going back to it, it's great. But I already played it, and I played this game, the Uncharted 4. And Uncharted 4 has some fantastic stuff. If you liked the stealth in The Last of Us, you probably really like Uncharted 4. The stealth's the best part. But here's the thing. Like, you can take this guy down, right? You can't do anything like that in The Last of Us. And maybe that's being more realistic, but doing shit like that's fun. And I don't think Joel should be jumping out of buildings and punching dudes on the ground. No, not saying that. But he should have more options for takedowns, for stealth takedowns. And being able to hide. I really like a hide button. Is there going to be a Last of Us 2? I would bet yes on The Last of Us 2. They've kind of confirmed it. Or that they want to do it at the very least. I would be surprised if they didn't do it. Maybe it doesn't happen for a while, but I would be surprised if they didn't do it. There's And they're still wrapping up on Uncharted 4. There's still DLC that's going to come out for that. I don't know when it would happen, why, or what it would be. I don't think it would be. My gut tells me it wouldn't be Joel and Ellie. They might be in it, but it might not be following them. After just finishing their story again, it kind of feels done in a way of like, okay, this is them, and there's some good storytelling to just telling a story and having an end like that and just being, all right, here's a slice of these people. You don't need to continue it. It's kind of the opposite of what The Walking Dead has done with, season 2 and then season 3. It's like, can we move on from this girl? That's a cool story and a great thing, but after the 2 seasons, I think we're good. I think we're good with that. I'd love to see, I don't know if did you play Left Behind, the DLC for The Last of Us? I would love to see Last of Us 2 feel more like that. And that's actually what Uncharted 4 feels more like, interestingly enough. More of a story, character-driven thing instead of, and me knocking over stones, instead of, so The Last of Us 2 was a journey with this girl to get her somewhere, or The Last of Us 1. The Last of Us 2 I would like to see be, you're in this world and something else is happening. You're not smuggling someone. Maybe you have a partner with you, that's fine. But it's not like a girl you have to protect and save because she's the cure for humanity, whatever. It's not that. Maybe you're the Fireflies. Maybe you're doing some mission to infiltrate a thing. I would like for them to go into more of the politics of that's brought up with what's his name's group when you play as Ellie, and it's like that guy, like, yeah, there's this madman traveling with a little girl that killed a bunch of our men at the school, and you kind of get this realization of, shit, we're just killing innocent people a lot of times, and I'd like for them to play with that idea more, these kind of different groups that are living in the world and how they cope with each other and how they deal with shoot first, ask questions later, or are people more diplomatic, or how that all works. I would like to see something along those lines. I understand that. I actually haven't finished season 2, of The Walking Dead, but it just, and I haven't watched the season 3 stuff because why I haven't finished season 2, but it just feels like, remember Clem? She's still here, and they're like, all right, I get it, but maybe we need some new life into this. I'm not saying she has to disappear from it, but we can still have a new tale, get some new stuff going on in it. I don't know. I'm not a huge Walking Dead guy, so I can't really talk about that. I do like Clem, and I do think, the first one is great, and how it all crescendos and ends there is cool and interesting. But I've had enough. I've had enough of their shitty engine, really. That's the part of the problem why I don't care about The Walking Dead as much. It's not, the gameplay isn't super impressive. Wolfman, I think you might be the guy who said you were going to show up the other day. That's what I remember. Oh, this was awesome. Uncharted 4's got great moments. Trying to remember. Trying to remember more about The Last of Us as well, because it's a weird game. It's a weird game. In a good way. And definitely in a good way, but I don't know. But we can now open this up. You can talk to me about anything. Chat about goldfish, pretzels, or snacks, cracker snacks. Any cracker-based snack, please. Is that what we can do? Cracker snacks? Let's do cracker snacks. And it was definitely too early. This E3 was definitely too early for anything from Naughty Dog. If anything, we would have seen Uncharted 4 DLC. There are people saying that they're maybe more about They might just be doing something else instead of The Last of Us 2 and kind of putting a project in the middle there. That's fine. Would you? Oh, Ellie? Would you kill? You don't even remember these characters' names. How can I respect your opinion about the game? No. No, that's fine. It's easy to forget everyone's name. Don't. Would you kill the girl in The Last of Us to save humanity? That's a tough question because in this situation, do I know her? If I don't know her and the answer is kill this person to save humanity, or don't kill her and not save humanity, I would kill her. I'm saving humanity. But if the question is I know her and then I have to decide if she lives or dies, I would have to know how sure this is. If we kill her and do this operation and all this stuff, are we for sure going to get the cure? That's what I'd have to know. Because if we aren't sure, I don't know. I think we have to. She's the only one who's been immune, and Ellie herself would probably say, "Yeah, that's fine." That's what makes the ending so crazy of the Last of Us. I think you have to kill her. You have to kill her, and that's why the ending's good. That's why the ending's good, because Joel freaks out. And it's really nice to see they do a great job of Joel not caring about her, and then over the year they're together, they start talking and doing things together. It's really nice. They really do a really good job of connecting them together. Although it's very strange when you think about the game and how it's a journey across country, they skip over so much. I'm like, did nothing happen for months? And then tons of shit happened in 3 hours, and then nothing happened again. That's some weird shenanigans to me, but who knows? So yeah, I'd kill her, I guess. I'm not the one killing her. I'm just saying, yeah, do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not killing anyone. Definitely not. No. Because in the game they had to, an error occurred? That's good. Let's just watch the error screen. I'd like to learn more. That's not helpful at all. Oh, now you've done it. Now you've really done it. That's funny. That's really funny to me. Shocking. Wow, that's weird. I wonder why I did that. But what would you like to see in The Last of Us? I don't know why I'm talking to the computer. In The Last of Us 2. There's a lot of things they could do with it. I think if they did continue. Yeah, I wish they had told her that she had to die to save the world, because she might have said yes. Yeah, she probably would have said yes. And that's why Joel had to save her. She was passed out the entire time. There's some weird plot holes in that of why didn't you you could have waited for her to wake up. You didn't need to operate so quickly. But yeah, that is a weird thing. She probably, I think she would have said yes. But if they continue, that's what I was saying. If they continue with Joel and Ellie, they were going towards his brother's farm place. But that kind of narrative-wise isn't super interesting to me. Them going there and then what? They live out their lives? Something would have to happen. So you'd probably have a time skip of some kind to where the Fireflies are doing something. Or maybe she wants to join them or whatever. I think there would have to be a time skip involved. Maybe not too long, maybe a year. It's tough though. I don't think that doesn't sound very interesting to me. I'd rather hear the tale of another person, or maybe I'd rather hear I'd rather play The Last of Us 2. I'd rather it be the moment of the outbreak, which you do get in The Last of Us, but the moment of the outbreak, and then it's just that person's life for a week or something following that, or maybe a couple months or whatever. But like as the government tries to figure out what's going on, people are quarantined, you're trying to figure it out, maybe you're trying to save some people, then you know, that is a more interesting story for me as well, as opposed to let's continue Joel and Ellie. We got Joel and Ellie. We got that. We don't need more. Usually when you go back and you add more after the fact, it isn't as interesting, or it kind of ruins some things, or it changes this character in a way you didn't necessarily want. And sometimes it's best just to have what you have and not want more from Joel and Ellie. The Left Behind DLC I thought was pretty well enough of what I wanted. I don't need any more from that. That's the funny thing. The Last of Us has these CG cutscenes. Well, not CG. They're in engine, I think, but they're like pre-rendered, and so they have set camera angles. They look better. That's basically what I'm getting to. They look better. But Uncharted 4 looks like way better than those pre-rendered cutscenes do in normal gameplay. It's so very impressive how beautiful they made the game. About Ellie at school. Ellie at school, you mean before the events of The Last of Us? Because she was in some kind of what was it? Some kind of training militia thing for the government? But she was in some kind of boarding school type of thing for orphans or whatever. I don't know. If you mean that, I don't know. But otherwise, I don't think she's going to school. I don't think she's going back to school like in what's his face's camp. Joel's brother. No, taking place before. I don't know. I just don't. I don't see the need to go back to them. Maybe back to Joel, just because he has history with the world. Ellie, the fuck? I saw something run across the floor. Okay, well, there might be a demon. There might be a demon. Ellie wasn't alive before the outbreak happened. That's the problem. It's like a 20-year or 15-year time skip from the beginning to when The Last of Us really starts after the outbreak. So she wasn't even alive when it happened. We can't have that. That's the problem. But that is an interesting scenario. You could just get another person and have them be in school. That's an interesting angle. But I do think it should be before. Well, the first one, they buried the lead so well too, because no one was expecting that opening in The Last of Us. But I think starting before, yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. This whole outbreak apocalypse scenario is becoming very common, and I like it, but I'm worried about it becoming a little like, okay, another outbreak. Oh, what happened this time? You know, I don't want that to be what it is. Basically, I don't want that. You really need to play the Left Behind DLC because it explains a lot of that stuff, and it shows where she was and why she got bit. That's already been done. And she's only like 15 or something. I think she might be 13 or 14? She was born well after the outbreak. Because she was bit at while sneaking around with her friend. And then they were gonna die together, but they didn't. She didn't turn. So it's already that story's already told. The Left Behind DLC is actually really good. Only about 2.5 hours or so, but it's really good. Not about really good, but it's really good. It's really good. This is one of the more annoying parts of Uncharted 4. I'm just gonna watch Uncharted 4. I have Tobo. That's fine. You can go. I don't care. I'm going to talk about pretzels. Pretzels are great. Goldfish, and pretzels. Snacks. Cracker snacks. And The Last of Us. Mainly Uncharted 4. Really good game. I like the best part of Uncharted 4 is the ragdoll. The best part. 100% the best part. I fucking love it. I don't think grenades explode that exploding in real life, do they? I don't know. I don't know. I might end the whole thing right there. Come to a close. Merry Christmas. My nose is super fucking itchy. It's a disaster over here. Disaster. I do this, whatever this is, every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time because I want to. Because I can. Oh, I just got the grenade launcher though. I gotta wait. Fine. This is like playing with toys because the enemies just fly around like dolls. Love it. Thanks for hanging out, Wolfman, if you're still here. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. That's not how birthdays work.